Good day, everyone. Welcome to Global Government News. Today is August 25th, 2010. I'm Darko. Welcome to this economic news bulletin. This isn't really an article right here. It's just a website with a link will be posted in the description area, and you can check this out. It's a good little site to add to your bookmarks or favorites that you can go in there and check periodically. This last one was published from 8/2/2010. It's August 2nd, but basically you can just check out this chart briefly, and this will give you kind of a quick overview of where we at as far as GDP. Someone was asking me how can you define depression, and I'm hearing that we're in a depression. And my only answer for him or her was, I checked this website out after checking out the real, the definition for it, which is, it's usually based off income and production. And so I guess this right here would be right when the fear mongering started in the middle of 2008. This is where all the bailouts came, and this is where we bottomed out. And so basically, when you get into the negatives here, that would usually qualify as being in a depression. They kept saying a recession, but we were literally in a depression. In half the year of 2009, when our Führer took office, all the confidence came back. All the Wall Street bankers, a lot of investors, a lot of liberals, they all thought the world was going to be great again, and the recovery was right around the corner. And sadly, they were fooled, because here we are in January 2010 with all trillions of dollars, according to Bloomberg, given to the banks in order to keep them, quote, solvent and all that, and to turn on lending. And then it turns out that we're slipping back towards this. We're definitely in a recession. They call it a double dip recession, but this was just a heist. They stole a lot of money. The bankers did, and this period was just when it finally came to surface, and the only people that didn't know, that weren't in the know, were the people that were suckered and were taken advantage of. And and then those people, same people that were suckered and taken advantage of, were by force of gunpoint through taxation. Actually, it wasn't even them. It was their children that weren't even born yet. Money was extracted and stolen from them, given back to the people who stole it from them. And so that gave the illusion that everything was okay, but it really wasn't. So here we are, finishing up on this. We're sliding back into a recession, and it looks like probably as we go into this winter, things are going to not be looking too good for us here in the North American Union as we slip past the zero mark. So, but hey, like Tony Robbins says, you can stay optimistic, but don't be naive. Take advantage of this opportunity. Be smart with your money and try to find ways to make money, whatever way you can. This first article is home sales plunged 27%, lowest in 15 years. Sales of previously occupied homes fell to the lowest level in 15 years last month as the economy weakened. The National Association of Realtors said July's sales fell by more than 27% to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 3.83 million. It was the largest monthly drop on records dating back to 1968. June sales pace was revised downward to 5.26 million. It says home sales picked up in the spring when the government was offering tax credits, but the market has struggled since then, since the tax credits had expired on April 30th. This is from the Wall Street Journal, pretty much telling us the same thing. Plunge in home sales stokes economy fears. And it says U.S. home sales plummeted in July to a level not seen in more than a decade, spurring fears of renewed weakness in housing prices and the broader economy. It says sales of previously owned homes fell to 27% from June to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 3.83 million, and that's our same source. Credit card debt, lowest level in 8 years. This is what Tony Robbins was talking about. A lot of people are actually paying down their debt, not actually borrowing. And it's kind of a good point. It's not so much as they're turning off lending, which I would say there's if you're out trying to get a loan, it would be harder to get a loan right now, because I've read other articles, financial articles, where it's being reported that as people are having harder business business owners and that investors are having a harder time getting loans. But at the same time, there's also people that are not taking on debt. They're paying it off, which I guess is a good thing, but they're not spending as much money. And I guess for 3/4 of our economy is based off consumer spending, you're going to have a little drawback, which isn't bad, I guess. It's just that we need jobs. The amount of consumers owed on their credit cards in this year's second quarter dropped to the lowest level in more than 8 years as cardholders continue to pay off balances in an uncertain economy. The average combined debt for bank-issued credit cards, like those in the MasterCard or Visa logo, fell to $4,900 in the 3 months ended June 30th, down more than 13% from $5,000 in the same period a year ago, according to TransUnion. This is from the London Telegraph. Fresh flight to Swiss franc as Europe's bonds strains return. The Swiss franc has surged to an all-time high against the euro on capital flight from Eurozone after Irish, Greek, and Portuguese bonds came under renewed fire. The Swiss franc is a currency that I want to say either Gerald Celente or Bob Chapman, maybe even both, but I know at least one of them advise people to get into Swiss francs, or if they're going to have a backup currency, Swiss francs or Canadian dollars, or of course silver or gold, but to spread it out. This next one's from Reuters, called Global Stocks Fall for the 5th day. And yeah, the U.S. stocks had risen today, but globally the stocks have gone down. It says world stocks fell for the 5th straight day on Wednesday as a new batch of disappointing U.S. economic data fed growing worries of a double-dip recession. See, we just looked at, we all of us right now, we just looked at the graph, right? Talking about how we're actually in a recession heading towards another depression, and they're talking about growing worries of a double-dip recession. You see the mind games? I mean, like I said, I'm not an economist, but I like to, I try to somewhat think simply when it comes to economics, because it shouldn't be that difficult, but they make it out to be, so that the average person can't understand all the little scams and stuff that they pull and Ponzi schemes. But it said worries of a double-dip recession while the yen eased from a 15-year high on speculation that Japan may intervene to stem currency rises. It says sales of new U.S. single homes fell in July to the lowest level in 47 years, and orders of long-lasting manufacturing goods posted their biggest decline in July in 1.5 years, the government reported.
Out of the housing market continue to be gloomy, adding to fears the economic recovery is weaker than thought. The U.S. Commerce Department said sales of new homes fell to their lowest on record in July, even as prices tumbled to a 6.5-year low. The drop was worse than expected as the housing market limps along without help from an expired government tax credit. Wall Street's reaction, however, is tamer than the sell-off seen after a record drop in existing home sales was announced a day earlier. Fewer Americans are falling behind on credit card payments, according to credit score company TransUnion. In the second quarter of the year, the number of payments late by 90 days or more fell compared to the same time a year ago and to the prior 3 months. The data also show that consumers are carrying smaller balances. Average credit card debt fell for the 5th consecutive quarter, hitting an 8-year low. The report suggests job worries are causing consumers to focus on their debts. Conway Gittins, Reuters.
So there you go, folks. U.S. Millionaire Index turned sharply bearish. The Spectrum Millionaire Investor Confidence Index fell to the lowest level in more than a year in August as wealthy U.S. investors worried about politics and unemployment, according to Spectrum Group. It said the move turns the index to mildly bearish territory after 12 straight months in neutral. Says the millionaire's decline is particularly troubling since it suggests millionaires, typically more sophisticated than the broader affluent population, are reverting to a bearish frame of mind, says George Walper, president of Spectrum Group. At the same time, the confidence index, which measures the outlook of households with $500,000 or more in investable assets, fell 4 points in August to -20, its third straight monthly decline. The reason? U.S. midterm elections, of course, politics, right, are coming up in November, and many affluent investors are worried that Bush-era tax breaks for investors will be allowed to expire at the end of the year, significantly increasing dividends tax. Millionaires were more focused on the political environment, with 25% of respondents citing that but less focus on unemployment, with 13% citing the labor market. This is from investors.com. Consumers dropping pay TV services. The number of subscribers to to cable, satellite, and telecom TV services in the U.S. fell for the first time ever in the second quarter, according to research firm SNL Kagan. The U.S. multi-channel TV market lost 216,000 customers last quarter versus a gain of 378,000 a year ago. The total number of subscribers to cable, satellite, and telecom video fell to 100.1 million in the second quarter, SNL Kagan says. Cable TV firms lost 700,000 subscribers last quarter, while satellite and telecom TV services managed to add 81,000 and 400,000 subscribers, respectively. And it says, and more people moving to internet-based TV. Although it is tempting to point to over-the-top video as a potential culprit, we believe economic factors such as a low housing formation and high unemployment rate contribute to subscriber declines in the second quarter. And that was SNL Kagan analyst Miriam Rodelli. It says many analysts believe over-the-top TV eventually could upend the pay TV business. OTT TV is video programming delivered over broadband internet and bypassing traditional service providers. And me personally, I would suggest to seize and end your cable satellite because there's nothing but mind control, wish-wash. Keep your internet and look up information and news yourself, and then look up entertainment yourself. It's the freest way to do it without being programmed. Plus, there's the other factors like it's a rip-off. Comcast is a rip-off, and I think in the not too distant future, they're going to have basically a duopolies, just Verizon and Comcast. They pretty much already have that, but so they can charge whatever the rates they want. And now they're talking about net neutrality, where there's a tier system where you pay more for a faster speed. We're already doing that, but then they're just going to mess with it even more. It says bad news on homes. Goods adds to air of recession. It's starting to feel like another recession. Businesses are ordering fewer goods. Home sales are slowest in decades. Jobs are scarce, and unemployment claims are rising. Perhaps most worrisome, manufacturing activity, which had been one of the economy's few bright spots, is faltering. The odds of a double dip recession are rising and uncomfortably high. I just want to point out, this is the same stuff that most media and newspapers and that were saying in 2008 when they were saying, oh, we're heading into a recession. No, we were in a depression. Negative 8% of GDP is a depression, right? So we were in it, and they were saying we're heading into a recession. So when you read this stuff, you just have to know how to read into it. Because when they say we're heading towards a recession, that means we're already in a recession heading towards a depression. And that's why I make these videos, so that you can look at this propaganda and try to read it correctly. This is from MikeChambersLive.com. Enron Accounting has bankrupted America. U.S. deficit really $202 trillion. I covered this recently about the CBO, Congressional Budget Office, forecasting the U.S. budget deficit will hit $1.3 trillion this year. And he says, but that's lower than was projected in March. It's also less than last year's record $1.4 trillion deficit, which was close to 10% of the GDP. As the deficit grows, so does the national debt, which is currently more than $13 trillion according to official figures. But the situation is actually much, much worse, according to Boston University economics professor Lawrence Kotlikoff. Quote, forget the official debt, he tells Aaron in this clip. Quote, the real deficit, including non-budgetary items like unfunded liabilities of Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and, of course, the big monstrous defense budget, which is actually 80% of it, is actually $202 trillion, the professor and author calculates, or 15 times the official numbers. It says small businesses loan programs need cash ASAP. These are the people that provide most of the jobs in this country, and they're having a hard time, too. Banker, I guess that's what Maynard Keynes, the Keynesian model, this is our corporate fascist economic system that we live under. He came up with this global currency called a banker, and I guess that's what they're going to call it when it comes out finally, when it gets rolled out. And, America used to really be great for starting businesses, but when you have things like these monks that wanted to start building their own coffins, see, the local funeral directors are trying to make them get a license, monks, for building funeral coffins in their own business. That's not really free market, dude. Thank you, everyone.